thank you for your time, and thank you for participating in the second seasonal school of ReSPA. On behalf of Ratka Sekulovic, ReSPA director, I would like to warmly greet you and to promise you that even though this is just an online version of the face-to-face mode, it will be equally interesting. And I hope that the next generations to come will actually be supported by alumni of these two schools this year's and the last year's. We were actually challenged already 3 years ago when we tried to shape this idea of setting multifunctional teams and actually equipping the people with certain communication and skills primarily to run their specific portfolio within variety of profiles within public administration. And it was quite odd. The ones that have participated last year remember that there have been many reactions actually coming up from the people who were surprised that we are not focusing on use of new IT technologies and that we are actually expanding the view but not narrowing down the focus. And at the very end of the last day, most of them were positively surprised with the results that the entire, so to say, seasonal school achieved. So that is why we decided to actually have another one, this time designated to Rapid Innovation Lab, and it is even more important into the current circumstances because of the COVID. And I also believe that there will be more and more extraordinary situations that we would not need to adjust. So that's why we actually have chosen that a very small number of public administration institutions know this secret or public recipe to combine design thinking, agile, well-being, quality management, and others. How we are going to do it? I'm sure that if it would be in person, it would be much more interesting because they could not simulate in this way what we have had last year with Dimis, with Judy, with Tamara, Vladimir, and the others. However, I'm sure that composition of our experts team and also reduced agenda to only up to 3 hours, as you could see with the disseminated agenda, will give us a floor to actually have certain fundamentals done. And then I hope in the period to come, we will be able to launch many of the activities. So the purpose of this is actually to give you bits and pieces of the whole picture that we would be actually dealing with later on. I guess our newly married guy, Vladimir, is on board.
The newly married guy is right here. Thank you, Goran, for the introduction. My official name says Vladimir Vulic, however, everyone calls me Vanya, except for my younger brother when he's really mad at me. I'm a part of this super organizing team behind the ReSPA seasonal school, both last year and this year. So I've been collaborating very closely with both Goran and Tamara on this. The two next slides are one of the most favorite slides that Goran has, the two quotes from Simon Sinek, where he says that people don't buy what you do, but why you do it. He's referring to mission-driven companies like Patagonia, like Whole Foods and the others, where there's a cause to what you are actually doing. One of my favorite thinkers, Isaac Adijes, who is Israeli but originally from Yugoslavia and lives now in the US, he says that the easiest way to see if there's a mission-driven, if there's a purpose behind what you are doing, is that if you ask yourself who will cry when you die. So if you can't put a name to your user, to the customer, who will be actually missing you once your organization is no longer there, you are not purpose-driven or mission-driven. And Goran's favorite quote is by Stephen Denning, one of the most famous living thinkers on agile and on radical management, who says that we need to shift from you take what we make to we seek to understand your problem and to actually surprise you with its solution. So the days of Henry Ford a century ago are long gone, when he used to say that a customer can pick any color for the car as long as it's black. he was driven by the necessity of the efficiency of the production process. However, the time has changed dramatically, and we are now actually, or we should actually be driven by the customer needs. Now back over to you, Goran.
Thank you, Vladimir. So it's really inspiring. There are so many brilliant minds. And 3 years ago, we have conducted service delivery study. In front of you is a mess of buzzwords. However, I would just like to focus on the upper side where you can read rule of law, social and economic, and well-being. Actually, the word well-being is what we are chasing for, living for. It is something that is, why we are doing anything. It's not only for salary, to have some social meaning, private meaning, status, but also to be happy. And in this very specific situation of crisis, and unfortunately many of the predictions that this is just the very first one, and that the change of the world and the new normal is something that nobody hoped that it will look like this. I think that this analytical map that ReSPA and fabulous experts did shows fantastic interconnection between many of the elements, and the fundamental parts of this map are actually the content of this 5 days training. I personally am very much passionate about this, not because I try to sound now like Tamara, but because I really feel that dealing with all these things in a way that we tried to match them to one another gives us a strong fundament to feel confident, to feel oriented, and to count on us and our teams once we all pass certain types of trainings and then we practice it into the reality. So you will see over the next 5 days why I'm speaking about this, and I hope that we will still continue after the event to collaborate on materialization of yours. So this is the helicopter view about 6 building blocks. This is my view of what all of us will go through these 5 days. So on the very first 17 and 18, we have had a strengths finder, and I'm sure that Adrian was super interesting for all of us. I love it, and I'm adoring Gallup's approach that we should not try to become pilots if we are average, if we possess average talent for it, but we should focus on our strengths. And then as of today, we will pass through the change management, quality management, crisis communication. We will have also elements of how the civil society organization in this holistic and multi-stakeholder approach would help us, would help you. Of course, design thinking and dilemmas, how to use innovative techniques will be discovered by fabulous Judy. And there is a fantastic team of 3 experts that will be actually giving us a super food for thoughts about agile management and agile thinking by Yasmina, Cheney, and Tamara Dimitrievich. Of course, Dimis is somebody who I would never forget. His magic coming out from the words and coming out from his examples is something that you need to witness. And of course, we would be at the very last day speaking about the agile management and designathon. Ihana Uzic from Bosnia and Herzegovina, an expert for quality management, will give us bits and pieces and will be reminding us from the previous analytical framework why setting organizational culture is important and why it is important not to do it per se, but to do it in certain circumstances, and how we can actually shape our world with small steps, filling in the big picture by the time. I think newly married guy still is looking at me, and I'm just trying to understand why 2/3 of the glaciers in the world melted, and does this picture actually shows the global climate change, or it is a shift of our mindset? I'm curious what Vladimir will have to say about this photo.
Since I'm completely aware of the global warming, Goran, but since my background is in management and organizational design, I primarily look at this photo on what's, let's say, above water and what's below. And what we usually can see is only the tools and processes and practices, which are important, but which are not actually the name of the game. The name of the game are 2/3 which are below the water, and its principles, values, mindset, and culture. Those are the things we usually cannot see. And most of the things we and all the other experts will actually be speaking about is how not to change the 1/3 which is above the water, but how to actually change the mindset and the culture. And let's say the levers behind the heavy shifting throughout the digital transformation are actually how to change the mindset and the culture. And we can go to the next one. Yes, you have probably all seen this slide, this cartoon, which has been going around during the pandemic. The question was, who led the digital transformation of your institution? And then there was just 1, 2, 3. Was it your CEO, your CIO, or your CTO? And then once you actually tried to answer, there's a fourth option, which is already circled in for you, and it says COVID-19. The joke was that COVID-19 did to digital transformation more than all of these guys did together. For example, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella says that we have seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in just 2 months. And for example, Novartis, which is using giant pharma, global pharma company, which is using Microsoft Teams in order to collaborate, they had a 2-year rollout plan to start using Microsoft Teams globally in all of their offices. So 2 years. That was accelerated to just 2 weeks. So the original operational plan to start using Microsoft Teams globally in next 2 years changed to just 2 weeks. And there's a famous quote which is often misattributed to my namesake, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. So he didn't actually say it. And the quote is that there are decades where nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen. I'm now referring to digital transformation, and that in some parts, what we have witnessed in the past few weeks, or now past few months, or more than half a year, we have actually seen things move more than in the past decade when it comes to digital transformation. Okay, so back over to you, Goran.
We actually did, like 2 months ago, multi-sectoral analysis, and we tried to understand what are the biggest challenges that your institutions are experiencing during the COVID crisis, and to generalize the concept and to understand what would be the equally present in any other extraordinary situation. We also tried to design, based on those inputs, what would be the most appropriate support provided by us, but also civil society organizations, EU Commission, DigiNear, and other organizations being involved in this very important zone of reform of public administration. And last but not least, we also wanted to have some prompt response, and that's why we set in April this year COVID collaborative platform, which actually tried to gather all of you, and most of you were there, to discuss and to find some of the very prompt solutions. So the response that has been provided by you and your valuable colleagues inspired us to think how we can actually shape in-country or something that is TAIEX-like mechanism, what should be done in hackathons and designathons in the future, and we do have a plan for it. So Vladimir will probably help us with his team of developers region-wide to do it. Of course, and not surprisingly, because psychological safety seemed to be very much important, along with the teleworking and digital transformation. So people felt that they need to be encouraged by being provided with certain expertise, advice from mentoring, and of course to be discussed about what are different perspectives and how we can actually change our current situation by benefiting from the crisis, not only being stuck in it by coaching. Webinars and web meetings is of course something that we were doing, and we will continue doing it, but of course they need to be quite brief. We do understand that you're overburdened and that this equilibrium between private and professional life online is something that imposes a lot of challenges, in particular for us who are dealing with this. So we made a cycle action planning and actual tracking. So all the activities that we've done so far were here, and this type of provisional plan is exactly inspired by the Agile, and you will be a lot of speaking about this in the coming days. So these are the 5 institutional challenges that most of your institutions have experienced. And as you could see, that optimization of internal processes in the institutions was something that most of you try to seek for, as well as defining and setting of online platforms to be used in different situations, which is also very much important. Teleworking, as I mentioned, was one of the third most vital issue to touch upon and to provide you help in. And of course, collaboration. So how ReSPA should support, I already mentioned these 5 most important things, and mentoring, as mentioned before, not surprisingly won the first place. And these are the challenges that we would like to address through the hackathon. So we want to make some kind of, these are the challenges that you actually proposed from Albania, Serbia, from North Macedonia, from Montenegro, Bosnia and Herzegovina as well. And I will not read it out. You have all been provided by the report, and I'm sure that you would be inspired for communicating on these issues. And these are the topics needed to be supported by in-country support. So by this, I'm stopping, and maybe just in 2 words, Vladimir can say a bit about how he wanted to speak about hackathon and designathon. Even though we will have quite reduced portfolio of our programs, we will probably make an inspiration for the later event.
Thank you, Goran. Final words from me. As Goran already mentioned, yes, we have reduced the workload. So a full-blown designathon, which was actually planned, will be a bit scaled down. So yes, you will all be working on your challenges. However, as Tamara and Judy will explain later, it will be one general challenge for all of you, which you will be discussing with different trainers and different facilitators throughout the 5 days. And then on the last day, we will have a group discussion on what you have realized, found out, and developed, at least mentally, with the help of your trainers throughout these 5 days. So the final session will be a wrap up and to go all through your, let's say, solutions to the challenges you have identified. However, if you need any help, ReSPA can do a follow-up with either in-country or hackathon, and the whole team has very, very, very big know-how and experience when it comes to these things. Goran, I think it's time for Tamara.
Absolutely. We go back to Louvre from Sacramento.
Thank you, Vanya. Thank you, Goran. I will ask my partner in crime, Judy, to set up the convening brochure. As I quickly introduce myself, I see some old faces and old friends, and I welcome the new faces and new friends. So my name is Tamara Srzentić. Ja sam ponosna Cetinjanka i Crnogorka, proud Montenegrine and a lady from Cetinje. And I'm super humbled and privileged to be collaborating with ReSPA and help foster this incredible community, 3rd year in a row. And just a quick background, I'm a deputy director at the Office of Innovation at Health and Human Services in California State Government. And we detail public servants and train them human-centered design and digital service delivery skills. And then we partner with departments to improve processes and prototype and deploy solutions. And so over the last 3 years, I've partnered with Goran, Slaven, Vladimir, and ReSPA team to bring parts of our curriculum to Western Balkan countries. And then this year again, we're bringing together a team of experts from the United States and Europe to create a great learning, hopefully great learning experience from you. So I just wanted to divert your attention to the convening brochure. We are not going to spend too much time going over the details of each module because we have provided this robust document for you that outlines the learning objectives, the skills that you're going to go through, and detailed agenda. And thank you, Judy, for scrolling down. There's some Zoom norms, and we're going to go over that as well, confidentiality as well. We had kicked off things a week ago with StrengthsFinder. We'll go over the agenda for today just in a little bit, and keep scrolling down. So you will see here each of these modules is fleshed out, so you can see in advance what you will be learning. At the bottom of this is speaker and expert bios. Our team of experts is coming in from different parts of the world and is incredible, represents an incredible set of skills and wisdom. And so all of them serve to you this week and beyond as mentors, as friends. And I would encourage you to take a look at the bios as well. And then at the very end, we have reserved some space for you to introduce yourself. We would like to foster this community and get to know each other as much as possible. So at the bottom, we have put together the names of countries. If you wanted to put in your LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever is a way for us to get to know you, or any learnings that you have, we have that space for you that you can collaborate in and kind of share. So that's at the very bottom.